Hello, my feminist colleagues. I am BraVada Garrett-Akinsanya, president of APA Division 35, the Society for the Psychology of Women. This message is directed toward our executive committee as well as our SPW members at large. First, I'd like to begin by saying thank you. Thank you to each of you for your dedication to our division and for your commitment to working toward our continuous growth and accountability. I am proud to be the president of a group of feminists whose hearts and minds are invested in working toward our feminist values, including collaborative process and social justice. As many of you know, the Voting Executive Committee, or EC, met with Dr. Olivia Moorhead-Slaughter on Friday, August 28th, 2015. The meeting was held as a follow-up to correspondence received from members, as well as in follow-up to a straw poll that transpired on Wednesday, August 5th, 2015 in Toronto, when Division 35 Extended Executive Committee held our business meeting prior to the annual convention of the American Psychological Association. During the course of the Toronto EC meeting, among other agenda items, we received an unscheduled phone call at the request of Dr. Olivia Moorhead-Slaughter, during which she described her sentiments about being mentioned in the Hoffman Independent Review Report and her experience as the non-voting chair of the PENS task force. After making her statement, a conversation was held in a large group format telephonically with Dr. Moorhead-Slaughter. Afterwards, without her present, a discussion ensued and an unplanned straw poll was conducted in response to the question, do you agree that there are serious concerns about Olivia assuming leadership of Division 35 at this time? A majority of the people voting reported that they had indeed had concerns. There was no formal action, however, as there was no formal motion that the group passed regarding Dr. Moorhead-Slaughter. In follow-up to the straw poll, the group agreed that their concerns would be shared in conversation with the officer at issue, and that she would be asked if she could assume leadership at this time given the issues surrounding the PENS report. Furthermore, the mode and content of communicating the concerns represented by the poll were to be developed in collaboration with myself and our past president, Dr. Maureen McHugh. Instead, Dr. McHugh independently communicated directly with Dr. Moorhead-Slaughter, both verbally and in writing, indicating that the group had concerns and suggested that she take the action of stepping down. Again, the spirit of our EC poll was not to ask her to step down, but to ask if she felt that she could do the job, given the circumstances around the PENS report. As you may be able to gather from some of the letters and emails forwarded, this is indeed a very, very painful time for Division 35. In that members feel strongly on all sides of this issue. There are members who have felt that nothing other than Dr. Moorhead-Slaughter's resignation would suffice. Many others, as witnessed by the letters that I have received, feel strongly that she should not. There are members who voted for the straw poll to provide feedback to Dr. Moorhead-Slaughter, who intended it as a demand for her resignation, while there are others who agreed to it because it stopped short of that action and served to let her know that they wanted her to be more strongly aligned during her presidency with taking the matter seriously and as a part of her presidential mission. While some members felt safe speaking their minds in the meeting, others said that they did not see our executive committee as being a safe place for disagreement. There are members who believed that the process at the EC meeting was appropriate and just, while others saw it as a poor example of feminist process. Finally, while one group contends that they will leave Division 35 if Dr. Moorhead Slaughter stays, others contend that they will leave if she is forced to resign. These communications have come from students, early career professionals, as well as our feminist elders. Thus, as you can see, most of the communications represented both process issues as well as possible legal vulnerabilities for our division. Therefore, recognizing that the communication that had been sent to Dr. Moorhead Slaughter was not in keeping with the motion or straw poll that had been passed, in order to pursue due diligence in my role as president of the division, during the last 2.5 to 3 weeks, I have sought legal counsel to assess the degree of legal risk that we may face as a division. Specifically, I have consulted about which actions were permitted by our divisional bylaws and about the rights and responsibilities of us as a division, as well as those afforded to Dr. Moorhead Slaughter. In consultation with multiple attorneys, including those from APA, the interpretation of the division bylaws that had been put forth at the EC meeting were upheld, stipulating that there is no statutory provision in the SPW bylaws to replace an officer of the division, and that several legal vulnerabilities existed because of the way matters have been handled to date. Consequently, again, I want to stress that our vote was to describe our concerns to her and was not a mandate that Dr. Moorhead Slaughter step down. Now, in preparation for this letter and announcement, I had to figure out next steps depending on whether she decided to stay or if she decided to step down. Consequently, I also sought the counsel of several feminist elders who hold divergent perspectives, all of whom articulated several viable options for the division to move forward, including, but not limited to, the option involving her stepping down from her post. Additionally, I have participated on the early career mentoring discussion regarding the Hoffman report, as well as individually sought the counsel of early career members of our EC to gain their fresh perspectives in terms of their personal opinions, suggestions, and their ideas for options and strategies for moving forward. I indeed trust their wisdom and their creativity, as well as that of the more senior feminists among us. The early career members represented both sides of the argument, but also describes some common ground solutions that could be achieved regardless of the choice that Dr. Moorhead Slaughter made. And for that creativity and openness, I am truly grateful. Finally, I have reviewed my notes from the numerous letters to be forwarded, emails, and phone calls that I have received. I have attempted to integrate the member feedback, my conversations with Dr. Moorhead Slaughter, as well as the cautionary advice from legal counsel. Most importantly, I have searched my own heart to try to balance how I may feel as a member of the EC, who believed my vote was the right thing to do and in the best interests of our division, versus those who felt their votes were rendered half-heartedly. In the end, the legal protection of the division superseded any emotional needs that I may have had. So I concluded some things, and I learned a lot from those discussions. I concluded that our division has a strong, resilient, and powerful history. We are comprised of some of the most brilliant minds in psychology, from the difficult times that we currently face, using our feminist process, we can indeed reset our feminist compass. We can utilize our strengths to overcome these challenges. To paraphrase Margaret Atwood from her book, Moral Disorder and Other Stories, we can realize that in the end, we all become just a small part of the larger story. This division is indeed larger than any of us, and no single event in time has the power to destroy who we are. Single events, if taken wisely, only have the power to transform who we can become. We can make it if we focus on articulating our core values and principles. We can make it if we remind ourselves of the relational nature of our existence and our indelible spirits. We can make it if we focus on our science, our history, our future, and our capacity to understand situations contextually. We can make it if we choose to use this situation to help us learn and grow and forgive ourselves and each other. We can make it. We can make it indeed. I know that in my capacity as president, one of my priorities is to protect the legal standing of the division and not place it at risk for liability, and to pledge to minimize the presence of strategies that involve intimidation, coercion, or threat. I also believe that my priority is to protect the ability of the division members to participate in our division, bringing their gifts and talents and knowledge without feeling undue pressure to conform to practices that they feel are unfair, inappropriate, unsafe, or potentially illegal. Finally, my desire is to respond to the wishes of a majority of our members who want answers and who want us to do the job of promoting feminist practices and ideals within the context of our long-standing commitment to social justice principles. Now, the dilemma that I have faced in the first weeks of my presidency is one that calls for strategic planning, respect for both individual and group needs, as well as for balancing our collective anger, fear, shame, guilt, and need for change. I pose that our greater challenge, while many are concerned about what others will think about our division, I pose that our greater challenge should be what we will think about ourselves when all of this is said and done. Can we say that we explored all options, used the best of feminist process, dealt with each other respectfully, and honored the humanity of each person involved? Or will we have to say that we let hurt people hurt people? Consequently, upon the advice of counsel, our first task was to hold a meeting of the voting EC members with Dr. Moorhead Slaughter to openly discuss our group's concerns, our leadership options, and forward progress. During our meeting last Friday, she notified us of her intention to remain as president-elect and provided a compelling case for what she has learned and how she could assist us in moving forward. In her letter, she expresses her commitment to staying in conversation in this difficult process. I reiterate, the choice was hers, as the purpose of the EC decision was to open the door to have these conversations, not to ask her to step down. Given her direction, our role is to work for the unification. Giving her decision, our role is to work for the unification and strengthening of the division by moving forward with a plan of self-reflection and social justice initiatives. Therefore, the voting executive committee believed that our next task was to develop a transparent, open, and explicit strategic process that integrates and legitimizes divergent opinions in an effort to find solutions and create change. With that in mind, we decided that we must pay great attention to those who have expressed legitimate concerns about Dr. Moorhead Slaughter, APA, and our division. Dr. Maureen McHugh's letter and Dr. Sharon Lamb's letters were both used to inform our direction in terms of how we may proceed in identifying and addressing our members' key concerns. In response, Dr. Monique Clinton, our current secretary, and Ms. Michelle Santiago, our current associate professional representative, agreed to perform a content analysis of the feedback that has been given in the area of members' concerns. As a result of our data-driven process, we will schedule a series of feminist social justice webinars on a variety of social topics, from the Hoffman Report to exploring our commitment to racial justice, to gender diversity inclusion, and reproductive justice, just to name a few. Each webinar will be followed by feedback opportunities such as listserv discussions, electronic solutions boards, and listening sessions. Dr. Moorhead Slaughter requested to be a leader in promoting this project and suggested that we begin the series with seminars that address the issues related to PINs and the Hoffman Report. She will be joined in planning and leading this process by Dr. Peggy Signorella, our SPW treasurer, and Dr. Jennifer Vensil, president of Section 4. I commend the willingness of these individuals to step forward, and I truly value Dr. Moorhead Slaughter's statement and her desire to continue to dialogue with all of us. Finally, I am especially appreciative of those of you who are open to continued dialogue and growth. In turn, I would like to invite all SPW members who are interested in helping to plan and or execute our webinar discussions and follow-up discussion boards to please contact me. In the end, it is our intention to produce a book that chronicles our collective and personal reflections, as well as the actions taken by our division in our collaborative journey to recovery, healing, and transformation. We ask that you join us in this endeavor. Finally, the voting EC agreed that it would be helpful to meet with our APA attorney to make sure that we fully understand our leadership responsibilities as a division and explore the creation of bylaws changes that will give us a feminist conflict mediation process and statutory guidance in addressing matters such as this without creating legal exposure in the future. It is my opinion that these three tasks must be done before we make any movement toward healing together. In conclusion, I have requested that these supporting documents and others be posted on our Division 35 webpage within the next few days. Meanwhile, I will forward them to our general members through the Division Announced Listserv. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your continued engagement in this process with Division 35, the Society for the Psychology of Women.